chaotic scene, horrendous, emotional feeling, although we didn't know the outcome of that assassination attempt yet. It was a surrealistic scene that would only take place in the movie or a novel, and yet it was actually happening here in the United States.
Bill Lord was just 25 when he was sent by ABC News to cover the president's trip to Texas, an assignment that required much more than he imagined.
Yes, sir. I never know. We got our act together. How was the trip then?
Well, Bob Clark was our White House correspondent, and he was covering the president's trip to Fort Worth and then Dallas. And they needed a producer in Dallas to put together the day's news. So I happened to be in the tape room of WFAA, our affiliate in Dallas, and suddenly someone ran in from the newsroom and said, "They've shot at the president in Dealey Plaza." Not knowing the geography, I said, "Dealey Plaza, is that far away?" And they said, "Yeah, it's all of 2 blocks, let's go." So we grabbed a cameraman. We got there very quickly, and they were just then pointing to the textbook depository building, saying there had been someone up there with a rifle, and he shot at the president.
Suddenly, Bill Lord was covering the story of his life.
As a 25-year-old reporter, I was trying to figure out, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do it? I had never worked with this crew before. We started interviewing people. Some people were crying. Others were in shock.
At home, Americans would soon see the witnesses in Dealey Plaza. Bill Lord would talk to them.
There were many witnesses to the assassination. Many of them people who had come to town early in the day to find a place to watch the president and the first lady. And I talked to one who saw it happen and took a picture.
And I took the picture. It so happened my picture, when I took it, was at the same instant that the president was hit. And that does show in my picture.
What does the picture look like?
It shows the president, he slumped. Jackie Kennedy was leaning towards him to see. I guess it all happened so suddenly, I don't think anyone realized, what had happened.
But how did you keep your emotions pinned up? I mean, that was such a day where, any human being could, visibly be upset.
I think you try to throttle yourself back and keep your emotions under control, and you're always thinking about the next question. Where is this interview going? While at the same time listening to what the person is saying, because frequently what the person says gives you a clue as to where you should go with the questioning.
It's estimated that 600 people were in Dealey Plaza when shots were fired. Lord and ABC's credibility was on the line.
In a warehouse, a sniper with a rifle poised waits. The cheers of the crowd almost muffle the 3 shots. The assassin's aim is deadly. The area is aswarm with police, rangers, and Secret Service men. The murderer slips...
Lord went straight to the basics. Get it right, get it confirmed. That even meant ABC's Bob Clark carefully reporting information about Kennedy's death.
Well, we were trying to be very cautious. That's why Bob didn't report that, because the hospital was still saying they're making every effort to save his life. We were all trying not to make a mistake, because the impact of the coverage, whether it was ABC, CBS, or NBC, and those were the only 3 network outlets at the time, was likely to be significant.
The next step in the story for Lord, reporting on Lee Harvey Oswald. The next hour and a half and the following 3 days would test the physical limits of each reporter in Dallas.
Well, none of us ate. And keeping in mind that for ABC News in Dallas for about a day and a half, we had Bob Clark and myself and a cameraman, and the support of WFAA TV, which was really significant for us. Adrenaline was the drink of that period, without question.
2 days after the assassination, Oswald was to be transferred to the county jail in Dealey Plaza. Reporters lined the walls of the Dallas Police headquarters awaiting Oswald and his police escort. That transfer never happened.
There's an ominous symbol in Lee Harvey Oswald's murder weapon as he is taken to the city jail basement where an armored car is to move him to a maximum security cell. Oswald walks his last mile. His assailant moves in from the right.
There is Lee Oswald. He's been shot. Lee Oswald has been shot.
Now, from another camera, the motion is slowed. The murderer moves in.
Oswald is shot by Jack Ruby and soon dead. Because the hallways are so congested, Lord has no view, but he must report anyway. He feared for his livelihood.
And suddenly I heard shots fired as he went out of my view. And they put me on the air immediately, essentially on the phone with the anchor at WFAA in Dallas on the television side. And I was called upon to describe something I couldn't see. That's when I thought my career might be over, because a mistake is clearly going to happen, because he's asking me questions. I'm trying to keep the conversation going. And I say, let's see, the detectives and patrolmen have brought their weapons out of their holsters. They're rushing forward. And I don't know how much further I can go and describe what's happening.
In a span of 3 days, Americans saw the death of the 35th President of the United States and his assailant. Reporters gathered the facts and the information while struggling to keep their emotions in check. By the time he got back to New York, Lord could no longer keep his emotions checked.
I think it was relief, but I remember when I got home I cried. I did not cry during that whole period, but I did cry after looking at the funeral and realizing that we were there in Dallas when it happened.
Why did you cry?
I think the overwhelming emotion as to what the country had lost. It was the modern day killing of Lincoln. We look back on the Lincoln assassination and how that could have happened, the consequences of it. We were going through another Lincoln assassination. So for the nation, it was a dark period without question. And I think that affected all of us citizens emotionally.
Reporters became eyewitnesses for Americans. It was their job to report the information, not take part in the event.
You say to yourself, I'm not a participant in this event that I'm covering. I'm an observer. I'm an observer for everyone else who wasn't here. And what I do is going to be looked at by you and others 50 years later, saying, what was that guy saying? So you have to be very careful. But the adrenaline keeps you going. The professionalism in terms of making sure you're at the right spot at the right time and you're doing the right story and you're doing it well, all those keep you under control.
3/4 of Americans were not alive when Kennedy was shot and killed. As time passes, Americans are left with fewer accounts of that day in Dallas on November 22nd, 1963. For those who reported on the events in person, they remembered how they felt.
And after it's all said and done, you reflect back on it. What do you remember most about being there?
Sadness, confusion. It was a horrendous week for those of us who were on the front lines of reporting the story, but also for Americans in general and worldwide. It was memorable and still is.